Good evening and welcome tonight. The President calls for operationalization of the West African Regional Action Plan on the fight against terrorism and other criminal acts to curb insecurity in the sub-region. INEC office in Oru local government area comes under attack. Second incident in 3 days in Imo State. Commission raises concern but vows elections will hold as planned. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana warns of legal hurdle ahead of the release of the new Naira notes as he faults a process in their redesign, says the president's approval not sufficient. And South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says his fate lies on his party as he breaks silence on an official report regarding a scandal over money stolen from his farm. There's urgent need to fully operationalize the West African Regional Action Plan on the fight against terrorism and other acts of criminality in the sub-region. That's coming from the president, who believes that this is a way to enhance safety, sustain national governance efforts and ensure the growth and progress of the sub-region. President Muhammadu Buhari stated this at the 62nd ordinary session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State at State House Abuja. Our correspondent, Gloria Omezoke, reports.
After years of engagement and agreement in 2019 with the government of China over the construction of an ECOWAS headquarters in Abuja, President Muhammadu Buhari, alongside his counterparts, officially laid the foundation of the new headquarters in Abuja.
Please, you can start.
Officially christened the Eye of West Africa, the complex is expected to advance the operations of ECOWAS from a single location in Lugbe.
The new complex will represent the unity and brotherhood of the member states, as well as signify a recommitment to process and regional integration. The contractors have informed us that the Eye of West Africa will be ready in 26 months.
This building demonstrates China's sincere aspiration and resolved determination to support the unity, peace, and development of Africa.
Hours later, the president leads other African leaders as they converge on the State House for the opening ceremony of the 62nd ordinary session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State. The president elected to amplify the need to coordinate action on regional safety and political stability.
Without doubt, the commitment shown by member states yielded very positive results as West Africa emerged as one of the regions with the least mortality rate, not only on the continent, but globally. Regrettably, some of our gains, especially in fully demonstrating our governance piece, has faced and continued to face severe challenges from constitutional and constitutional change of governments as witnessed in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. Related to this is the urgent need to fully bring into operation the Regional Action Plan on the fight against terrorism, other acts of criminalities in the sub-region, as enhanced safely with sustained national governance efforts that would ensure the growth and progress of our sub-region.
At this 8th summit under the Buhari administration, Dr. Omar Toure, appointed during the 61st session in Ghana, is sworn in as the president of the ECOWAS Commission. The various conversations and even prospects of a new ECOWAS complex is perhaps indicative of a renewed commitment by all 15 presidents that make up the ECOWAS. This also suggests that action to the salient issues of terrorism, economy and regional integration would further gain traction in the coming months. From the presidential villa, Gloria Omezoke, Channels Television News.
Another office of the Independent National Electoral Commission has come under attack, this time in Oru West local government area of Imo State. INEC National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Mr. Festus Okoye, says the incident occurred at about 4 in the morning today. Quoting a report by the Resident Electoral Commissioner for Imo State, Professor Sylvia Uchenna Agu, Mr. Okoye explains in a statement that the attack affected the conference room where office furniture and fittings were destroyed by fire, but other critical facilities were not affected. The latest incident comes after the last attack on Thursday, December 1st in Orlu local government area, also in Imo State. According to INEC, this makes it the 7th in attacks INEC facilities have suffered in 5 states of the Federation in the last 4 months. While expressing concern over the consequences of what it says appears to be a systematic attack on its facilities on the conduct of the elections, INEC urges security agencies to promptly investigate the matter and bring the perpetrators to book. Meanwhile, INEC says that despite repeated attacks on its facilities, next year's elections will go as planned. National Commissioner and Chairman of INEC's Committee on Voter Education and Publicity, Mr. Festus Okoye, told Channels Television's Ladi Akeredolu on our Current Affairs program Newsnight, on our Current Affairs program, election issues tracking program, Roadmap 2023, the Nigerians want the polls to take place and all will be done to ensure that that happens. He maintains that to act otherwise will also be in breach of legal requirements.
I just want to assure the nation, and the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has also assured the nation that our sensitive materials are not in any of these places where these attacks have occurred. We have secured the beavers and other sensitive materials that will be used in the conduct of this election. And so those materials are not in any of these facilities that are being attacked. Secondly, we are in close liaison, in close consultation and in close partnership with the various security agencies, and they have beefed up security in our 36 states, state offices throughout the Federation and our office in the Federal Capital Territory. They are also extending it to the various local governments. The chairman has made it clear that for the attacks that have taken place, we have the capacity to move on and replace some of those items quickly. But as we move towards closer to the election, if these attacks persist, it may be difficult for us to replace some of the materials that have been damaged. So that's why we want to move quickly, get these offices secured, and prevent further attacks. But this commission is resolved, and this commission is determined to proceed with electoral business, because that is what the Nigerian people want, and that is what the Nigerian people expect us to do. By Section 132, subsection 2 of the Constitution, our elections are circumscribed. There's a time limit and a window to which the Commission cannot move away from in terms of the conduct of election. And we don't want to fall off the constitutional radar. And so we are going to move on assiduously and make sure that we have a expeditious conclusion to the conduct of the election.
You can watch the first episode of our election issues tracking program, Roadmap 2023, on Channels Television. It airs tomorrow, Monday, December 5th, 2022, at 9 p.m. Meanwhile, the Labour Party's vice presidential candidate, Senator Dati Baba Ahmed, has been speaking on the party's chances in the forthcoming 2023 presidential race. Senator Baba Ahmed says the party has been able to change most of the negative campaigns and misrepresentations of the party's presidential candidate Peter Obi in the north. He explains that with the clearing of the misconceptions or misperceptions about his candidate, the party is now making a substantial inroad into the north, especially with the vision of Peter Obi. Senator Ahmed was our guest earlier this evening on Sunday Politics.
It's more than a road. The traditional stronghold of PDP used to be the southeast, which doesn't exist for them anymore. South-south doesn't exist for them anymore. North-central, about 90% of it does not exist anymore for the PDP. And then in the northeast, we're looking at 35% of Adamawa, 25 to 28% of Gombe. In Kaduna, we're looking at a possible win. In Kano, we're looking at comfortable 25%. In Niger, comfortable 25%. Okay? Then the other 8 states that were challenged, we are right now, like I told you, demolishing all the negative campaigns they did about Peter Obi, because that was all about it. Paint him black, which when they are successfully, like I said before, I turned the barrel of the gun against the firer of that gun. The 4 issues completely crashed, failed, eroded, impeached. No one listens to that anymore.
What are those issues?
The wearing of ID card, demolition of mosques, deportation of northerners, and ethnic violence. All of them added up to 0. And the thing about northerners is that if you lie to northerners and they find out, you are a void. That void is going to be filled. I have told you PDP now exists only in Atiku's palaces. Now, this is heartbreak for APC. Who made Buhari after Almighty Allah? Tinubu. All the failed attempts, Tinubu came and added his 3 million and made Buhari for 8 years now. Who is going to unmake Tinubu after all his political successes? Buhari. Because Buhari has finished, if you like, take it or leave it, he has finished his 8 years. His immediate and extended, I won't add any word after that, have made what they will make for life. He doesn't need anything. It is not about how well Nigeria was run or how bad Nigeria was run. They have finished with Nigeria. They have finished with everybody. Tinubu can go blazes.
In part 2 after the break, presidential candidates meet with the leader of the pre-election mediation team of the West African Leaders Forum. Plus, more on politics as the Nigeria Labour Congress in Kaduna State says it will support Labour-friendly governorship candidates in the state. That's all in a moment. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Televisions, coming to you from our studios. A reminder of our top stories. The President calls for operationalization of the West African Regional Action Plan on the fight against terrorism and other criminal acts to curb insecurity in the sub-region. INEC office in Oro local government area comes under attack. Second incident in 3 days in Imo State. Commission raises concern but vows elections will hold as planned. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana warns of legal hurdle ahead of the release of the new Naira notes as it faults the process and their redesign, says President's approval not sufficient. And South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says his fate lies on his party as he breaks silence on an official report regarding a scandal over money stolen from his farm. Issues of security and fairness in the upcoming general elections in 2023 are some of the concerns raised by the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress of the West African Elders Forum during the meeting in Abuja today. Former President of Sierra Leone, Ernest Korbai Koroma, who is the leader of the pre-election mediation team sent to Nigeria by the forum ahead of the 2023 elections, stated this while speaking to journalists after a closed-door meeting with Mr. Atiku Abubakar at the party's campaign headquarters in Abuja. The delegation will, for the next 3 days, interface with major political actors and key stakeholders in the country ahead of next year's elections.
There are concerns about security, there are concerns about attacks here and there, there are concerns about not allowing a level playing field. These are concerns that we have noted and we will take up with the appropriate bodies and authorities to ensure that we have a level playing field, to ensure that everybody out there is protected and to ensure that Nigerians everywhere are given an opportunity to participate in this all-important electoral process. We have just started our engagements. We will be meeting other political parties and their leaderships. We will be meeting the elections management bodies. We will be meeting the government, the president and his government. We'll be meeting the security apparatus, civil society, and other stakeholders, all with the view of engaging, noting these concerns and ensuring that at the end of the day, the process is a transparent and a process that is above board and whose outcome will be democratic and will be a true reflection of the will of all Nigerians.
The former Sierra Leonean President Ernest Bai Koroma was speaking with the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar in Abuja today. In other news now, the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Umo Eno, has promised to maximize vast agricultural and tourism potentials of the Itu local government area of the state to generate employment and revenue for the state if elected governor in 2023. Pastor Eno made the promise while addressing the people of Itu during the People's Democratic Party's governorship campaign in the area. On his part, Governor Udom Emmanuel promises to complete most ongoing projects before leaving office in May next year.
The governorship campaign train of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Akwa Ibom State moves to Itu local government area to make a case for its candidate and the party. Dressed in different colors of attire, the people sing and cheer with Governor Udom Emmanuel, his deputy, and the party's governorship candidate, Pastor Umo Eno, among others. Pastor Eno unveils his blueprint for the area, which intends to upscale agriculture and tourism if elected as governor.
All the program in the Arise agenda will find expression key to me. Because whether it is agricultural revolution, the fields are green, everywhere looks beautiful. But in the area of agriculture, we will raise the bar. We are going to ensure that that very slaughter site comes alive, and then we will construct a good road that will lead to that site. It will have a good road. We will work with the WTO, the World Tourism Organization, to recognize that site as a World Heritage Site.
Governor Emmanuel assures the electorate of his administration's commitment to complete most ongoing projects in the area.
I want to assure the stakeholders here that those 4 major road constructions in Itu today will do everything possible to commission more than 50% before I leave the office. So that whatever is remaining, like the Merislezo Road, I told them that they must complete that bridge. Because bridge has nothing to do with rain, has nothing to do with dry season. So they are working.
The ruling party in the state is expecting that this turnout will translate to votes in February and March 2023.
In Kaduna State, the Nigeria Labour Congress says it's foregoing non-partisanship to support any of the governorship candidates willing to implement the union's charter of demand. The state NLC chairman, Ayuba Sulaiman, made this position known during an interactive session with the governorship candidates of the APC, Senator Uba Sani, the PDP, Issa Ashiru, and Mr. Jonathan Asake of the Labour Party. He gave the assurance that the union will increase its engagements with political actors ahead of the elections.
Workers in both the public and private sectors constitute a large chunk of the voting bloc in the country. This perhaps is the reason behind the decision of the Kaduna State Council of the Nigeria Labour Congress to organize an interactive session with candidates contesting to govern the state in 2023.
Why we invited you is we wanted to have an interface with you, interaction. Although you had want to make a presentation, but we want to make it interaction. We will ask you to answer. This basis of democracy
Among those who have appeared separately for the interactive session include the governorship candidates of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Obasanjo, Isa Ashiru of the People's Democratic Party, and Jonathan Asake of the Labour Party. In his presentation, Senator Obasanjo promises to adopt a policy of constructive engagement with the labour movement to improve the welfare of workers and tackle key developmental challenges in the state.
I have been involved in all the labour struggle in the last 30 years for information. I participated in most of the labour rallies. You can ask Ayuba, he will tell you. We participated, we demonstrated together. I was in the forefront of all this demonstration and the struggle. So I'm part of them. But we need to work closely together to look at those key areas I've mentioned.
In their separate presentations, the governorship candidates of the PDP and Labour Party both promised to adopt a multifaceted approach to tackle insecurity and revamping education, while also promising to review the dismissal of teachers by the Governor Nasir El-Rufai administration.
Unemployment is another menace. We intend to address this menace in the field of agriculture, science and technology, through ICT development. We will definitely pursue that to make sure that we mop up this battalion of unemployed youth.
The cardinal pillar, one of the cardinal pillars, apart from security, is justice, equity, and fair play. We'll have to bring this thing on board and review them and see if anybody was treated unfairly. Even if he's dead, his family must be compensated.
According to the NLC, this interactive session is the beginning of its engagements with governorship candidates in Kaduna State, with the sole aim of supporting one among them who has a workable blueprint to improve the welfare, rights and security of workers in the state.
And in Nasarawa State, the All Progressives Congress has kicked off its campaign tour of the 13 local government areas, led by Governor Abdullahi Sule, who is seeking a second term. The party has toured the western and northern zones of the state, comprising 8 local government areas, canvassing support of the people. Our correspondent Halima Gayom has a report.
APC! The All Progressives Congress in Nasarawa State, north-central Nigeria, flags off its campaign tour. The tour begins at the Western Zone in Toto local government area, with the first stop at the palace of the Oyimege Opanda. The party members proceed to the rally ground, where the governor promises to deliver on development and improve infrastructure in the state.
I want to thank the youth, I want to thank the women, and I want to assure you that by the grace of God, whatever we have done before, we will do even more in the next 4 years.
The campaign train departs from Toto and heads to Nasarawa, Karu, Kefi, Kokona, Wamba, as well as Nasarawa, Egon, and Akwanga local government areas in the northern zone.
It's a clear indication that you're home. Indeed, Your Excellency, you're right at home.
The crowd of supporters expressed solidarity to the party with chants and songs. The people state their reasons for supporting the All Progressives Congress in the state.
Because of conducive and relative peace we enjoy in Nasarawa, all the non-indigenous living in Nasarawa are not willing to go back to their states again because of the good work of Engineer Sule. No governor over 30 years have been in this state has done what Sule has done in Nasarawa State.
Governor Abdullahi Sule receives people from the People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party, and other parties to the APC. Governor Sule not only rallies for support, he also flags off free medical and surgical outreach in the 2 zones. The 8 local government areas of the western and northern zones toured so far. The call to vote is the same. Governor Abdullahi Sule outlines the development strides of his administration to the people, urging them to vote for the All Progressives Congress across board in the 2023 elections. Halima Gayem, Channels Television News.
The Catholic Bishop of Yola Diocese and Chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria in Adamawa State, Most Reverend Bishop Dami Mamza, is calling on the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission to investigate the Nigerian Christians Pilgrims Commission under the leadership of Reverend Yakubu Pam over allegations of irregularities taking place in the commission. The bishop is making the allegation while briefing media on the just conducted pilgrimage to Rome, Italy, where he expressed dismay over alleged sharp practices taking place in the commission. Bishop Dami lamented how some of the pilgrims would have been stranded in Rome and abandoned at the Nigerian embassy, but for his intervention. He calls for a cleanup of the Christians Pilgrims Commission.
The pilgrimage that we went to Rome, if not because I happened to be on the team and I happened to be the team leader, Adamawa State citizens will have been stranded in Rome and they will have been left at the Nigerian embassy in Rome. The government of Adamawa State gave adequate resources in order for the activities of the pilgrimage to take place adequately. But I think the supervision and then the arrangement that was made by the National Pilgrimage Commission was nothing was actually done. The pilgrims arrived Rome, and some of us had no room to stay. No buses were made, arrangements were made for people to move from one place to the other. Mind you, there are also others that use their money, they paid their money to go on this pilgrimage, especially the recent one, the national one that took place. There were those, and I have a good number of friends that they paid, but they couldn't get accommodation. Where is their money? The National Pilgrimage Commission is in a mess. And I just want to use this opportunity to call on the Secretary, the federal government. I understand that the commission is under his office. Let the activities of Yakubu Pam at the National Pilgrimage Commission be investigated.
In other stories, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has sued the federal government over what it considers failure to probe the spending of trillions of naira of the ecological funds by governments at all levels from 2001 to date, and ensure the prosecution of those suspected to have mismanaged the funds. The Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, are also joined in the suit as respondents. In the suit filed at the Federal High Court, Lagos, SERAP is asking the court to direct and compel the president to investigate the spending of ecological funds by governments at the federal, state, and local government levels. SERAP is arguing that failure to probe the alleged missing funds, prosecute suspected perpetrators, and recover the money is a fundamental breach of constitutional and international legal obligations. The suit follows a United Nations Children's Fund report that shows that no fewer than 600 persons died and 1.3 million became homeless as a result of the floods this year that ravaged most states across the country, with properties worth billions of naira destroyed. Meanwhile, the redesigning of the 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes may have been concluded, but it appears there may be some legal hurdles regarding their issuance. According to Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, the President's approval of the redesign is not sufficient, as he is mandatorily required to present a money bill to the National Assembly for the fund needed to print the new naira notes in line with Section 59 of the Constitution. In the words of the human rights lawyer, since the fund for the printing of the new naira notes is not captured in the 2022 appropriation bill, the President is advised to prepare and present a supplementary bill to the National Assembly to authorize the withdrawal of public fund from any account of the Federation for printing the new naira notes. Mr. Falana maintains that other than this, the printing of the new naira notes without appropriation by the National Assembly may be declared illegal and unconstitutional if it is challenged in a court of competent jurisdiction. The President recently unveiled the new naira notes following his approval of the initiative in line with Section 18 of the Central Bank Act and are to be issued effective December 15, 2022. Now, all things being equal, the student who was arrested for criticizing the wife of the president should be sitting for his final examination tomorrow, December 5th. The student, Aminu Adamu, is to write his exams after being released and all charges against him dropped by the wife of the president, who withdrew the case from the court. A final year student of the Department of Environmental Science and Technology says he's learned his lesson.
Aminu Adamu, the student of the Federal University Duse in Jigawa State, arrives at his school to a jubilant reception by a crowd of students who defied the darkness to receive him. He's returning to the school after being arrested on Friday, November 18, 2022, amidst allegation of torture and maltreatment on the order of the wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, who found Adamu's post on the social media offensive. But all that appears to be in the past, as it's been handed to the management of the university by the president of the National Association of Nigerian Students.
Officially, I am here to present Aminu to the management. All our students, like we said, we have to be very, very careful in the way we handle social media criticism. We didn't say don't criticize, but do it as a student, using that character and learning that they are putting it on us.
Now that he's back to the university, we are happy that he's back, and we know he has learned his lesson. And I want to caution him to be in how he expressed his freedom in whatever manner. Well, expressing a freedom is a right, but you have to be cautious in what you are doing. So as our student, we caution you, you have to know that degree is awarded based on character and learning. We consider what you have done now as a mistake, but we will condone it again from you or any other student.
Mr. Adamu seems to truly have learned some lessons.
Like what my leader here said, freedom of speech, everyone has it. But freedom after speech, that is where the big problem is. We should be using our social media platforms accordingly, because you have no idea what you post, where it will go. It can reach everywhere in the world, and the problem that it will cost you, the people that are supporting you on the social media will not be there to support you again. So we should all be cautious in the way we handle our social media platforms.
He's expected to begin his final examination on Monday, December the 5th, 2022. But if the allegation of torture were true, plus the harrowing experience of the past few days, maybe Aminu Adamu may need few more days to put himself together.
And in Jigawa State in northwest Nigeria, the police have arrested a man and a woman who allegedly buried their newborn baby in Kiawa local government area. A police public relations officer in the state, DSP Lawan Shisu Adam, said that on receipt of the report, a team of policemen mobilized and proceeded to the scene of the crime. According to him, 30-year-old Balaraba Shehu of Suma village, who is the mother, and 25-year-old Amadou Saleh conspired to kill the child to cover up an unwanted pregnancy. He added that the Commissioner of Police, Jigawa State Police Command, CP Emmanuel Ekot Effiom, directed that the case be transferred to the State CID in Dutse for discreet investigation. The suspects will be charged to court to face the full weight of the law upon completion of the investigation. More on crime now. Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, have arrested a man they described as a major source of illicit drugs in the south-south and the southeastern parts of the country in Umuahia, Abia State. NDLEA says that they've been on the trail of this man for 9 years after the suspects organized a mob attack on some of the agency's operatives who attempted to apprehend them during a raid. And during the raid, quantities of cocaine and variants of cannabis were recovered from 2 properties, while the agency has so far sealed 2 hotels, 1 eatery, 2 mansions linked to the drug barons, and recovered 3 exotic cars as efforts are on the way to trace and recover their bank accounts. The 2 notorious brothers have over the years been regular dealers in assorted illicit substances like cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, loud, as investigations show that the 2 notorious brothers began a career in the illicit drugs business in the late 1990s as pocket dealers prior to the establishment as major drug barons in the south-south and southeast. And ahead of a resumption of the operations of the Abuja-Kaduna rail line tomorrow, the police say they've deployed armed personnel and logistics to beef up security along the rail lines. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, gave the order for the immediate deployment of the personnel who are drawn from the Police Mobile Force, the K9 Force Intelligence Bureau, Explosive Ordnance Units, and Railway Police Command. A statement by the Police Public Relations Officer, Mr. Olumiyiwa Adejobi, indicates the deployment covers major railway stations along the route and operational coaches to provide adequate security for passengers. According to him, the Nigeria Police Force has been in regular talks with the Nigeria Railway Corporation and other security agencies in preparation for the commencement of operations. Fewer than 19 worshippers have been reportedly kidnapped by a gang of terrorists in Funtua local government area of Katsina State. Eyewitnesses told Channels Television the hoodlums stormed a mosque located at Maigamji community in the local government area at about 7:40 p.m. yesterday, whisked away 19 of the worshippers during their evening prayers. According to the eyewitness, the terrorists, upon their arrival, shot and wounded the leader of the mosque, along with one other worshipper, before taking them into the bushes. Meanwhile, following a rescue mission launched by a combined team of the police and vigilante last night, 2 of the victims were freed, while another 4 were rescued in the early hours of today. The police spokesperson, Gambo Issa, said 13 of the victims are still in the custody of the terrorists and efforts are ongoing to free them unhurt. Former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo says with the growing population of the country, oil and gas sector can no longer feed the nation. He stated this when the leadership of the Apex Socio-Cultural Group in Tiv Land in Benue State paid him a visit at the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. According to the former president, only farming and agribusiness can tackle the nation's growing population. He called on the Tiv people to focus on the sector, says it supports the change in leadership of the country from the north to the south, and encouraged the Middle Belt region to continue to advocate for rotational presidency for the country. In his view, if Nigeria is ready to get it right, the 2023 election should be a turning point. And now to the arts. Remember Me, Liberated Bodies, Charged Objects is a theme for the 13th edition of the Lagos Photo Festival at Alliance Francaise. About 30 photographers from across the world are using pictures to recount memorable events that shaped their societies. We see snapshots and art review tonight.
The Lagos Photo Festival, an interactive program that features exhibitions, workshops, screening, and outdoor installations, with this year's event titled Remember Me, Liberated Bodies, Charged Objects, which explores how the media influence, shape, archive, and order memories that affect communities and individual identities.
The theme of Liberated Bodies, Charged Objects really focuses on the power of photography to bring past and future conversations into the present time. And I think over the last 4 or 5 years, the dominant topic around our world has been about restitution of cultural artifacts. But we're interested in restitution of memories, and that's what images can do. Images can trap the moment in time and bring it to the present moment.
Through photography, these creatives say that words cannot speak, capturing moments that impact the society and share interesting stories that resonate with the audience.
There's so many beautiful little short stories that you can find from each body of work for each artist. A lot of it deals with the main urgent issues of our day, like ecology, climate change, and the intelligence to tackle these problems really lie in going back to learn from our custodians, from our forebears, who had a different idea around ownership, capitalism, consumption. You know, our forebears and African tradition really focused on looking after things for the next generation.
Some of the photographers go back memory lane to scenarios that rocked the boat.
I have 2 works here, and one of it is about the NSAS, right? So in 2019, a a young graduate who is supposed to pass out for his project, right? Supposed to have his project, died by suicide due to police brutality. So there was a judicial panel to look into the case, and I picked up an interest because it was so. I mean, this was shot in Abeokuta. This happened in Abeokuta State, and I also find out that there were not a lot of media who were speaking about this issue, the police brutality issue. It was more focused in Lagos. So I chose to document this in the court and sort of like be a voice to the victim and also to the mother of the victim.
These creators have used a medium which speaks louder than words to send a message to the audience, one that speaks volumes.
On our shores now, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has arrived in Hanoi, Vietnam, to begin an official visit to the country. According to a statement from his office, the Vice President is on a 5-day working visit to discuss trade and bilateral relations between Nigeria and Vietnam. Issues around trade, commerce, agriculture, technology and innovation, among others, will be discussed as Professor Osinbajo is expected to meet with the President of Vietnam, the Vice President and the Prime Minister. He will also participate in a business forum with the Vietnamese Chamber of Commerce and other representatives from both countries. And South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa says it's up to the ANC's National Executive Committee to decide his future in the face of allegations of misconduct against him. The 70-year-old, who intends to attend the NEC meeting tomorrow, is fighting for his political future after a panel of experts found he may have violated his oath of office in regards to millions of dollars allegedly found at his private game farm. The president has denied any wrongdoing and has not been charged with any crimes.
I've just attended a meeting of the National Working Committee, and I have been recused from the meeting because they are going to discuss the panel's report. And as per our own experience and history and tradition, it's always best when a matter that affects a person personally should be discussed in their absence. So that's precisely what has led to my recusal, to enable members of the National Working Committee to have a thoroughgoing discussion on the report without my presence, without rather me being there, so that they are free to express themselves as openly and as thoroughly as possible, without any form of fear or favor.
Iran's Attorney General Mohammad Jafar Montazeri has announced the country's morality police has been disbanded. It comes 3 months after protests erupted shortly after the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, a woman arrested by a unit of the morality police in Tehran for allegedly not adhering to the country's mandatory dress code for women. Montazeri was at a religious conference when he was asked if the morality police was being disbanded. He responded, the morality police had nothing to do with the judiciary and have been shut down from where they were set up. Women have featured prominently in the protests following Amini's death, with her name and images widely used inside and outside the country. U.S. Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines has said the intelligence community expects the reduced tempo in fighting in Ukraine would continue in the months coming. Haines, who made the remarks at the annual Reagan National Defense Forum in California, detailed U.S. intelligence assessment on a variety of topics, including the Ukraine war, Russia, and protests in China. Speaking on the war in Ukraine, she said that while the conflict was wound down to an extent, the U.S. expects both Ukraine and Russia to prepare counteroffensives in the spring.
Indicated that their precision munitions are running out much faster. Yeah, I think, so as we're looking at the trajectory of the conflict kind of going through the next several months, honestly, we're seeing a kind of a reduced tempo already of the conflict. Most of the fighting right now is around Bakhmut and the Donetsk area, and sort of has slowed down with the withdrawal of of Russia from the sort of western Kherson area to the east of the river. And we expect that's likely to be what we see in the coming months. And then once you get past the winter, the sort of question is, what will the counteroffensive look like potentially in the spring, in effect in March and in that area? And we expect that, frankly, both militaries are going to be in a situation where they're going to be looking to try to refit, resupply, in a sense, reconstitute so that they're kind of prepared for that counteroffensive. But we actually have a fair amount of skepticism as to whether or not the Russians will be, in fact, prepared to do that. And I think, yeah, I think more optimistically for the Ukrainians in that time frame.
Mount Semeru in Indonesia's main island, Java, has erupted, sending ash billowing into the sky and sparking evacuations. There have been no injuries reported yet, but nearly 2,000 people are being evacuated from the area around the volcano. People have been urged to keep at least 8 kilometers away as hot avalanches of lava pour from the volcano.
The volcano erupted on Sunday, spewing a cloud of ash 15 kilometers into the sky and forcing the evacuation of nearly 2,000 people, following authorities' warning for the area in the east of Java Island. Eyewitness video posted online showed villagers evacuating with their belongings through ash-covered land. Japan's meteorology agency, which was monitoring for the possibility of a tsunami in West Java, said the plume from the volcano reached a height of 50,000 feet. The eruption of Mount Semeru on the eastern part of Java Island, some 640 kilometers east of the capital Jakarta, follows a series of earthquakes on the west of the island, including one last month that killed more than 300 people. Semeru began erupting at about 2:46 local time. Indonesia itself sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates collide, causing frequent volcanic activity as well as earthquakes. Known as the Great Mountain, Semeru is the highest volcano in Java at 3,676 and one of the most active. It last erupted exactly 1 year ago, killing at least 50 people and leaving streets filled with mud and ash.
Sports news now. England beat African champion Senegal 3-0 in the last 16 encounter to set up a quarter-final showdown with France. Jordan Henderson settled nerves in the 38th minute when he opened the scoring after a sharp break, and Harry Kane gave the Three Lions near total control as he scored on the cusp of half-time. Bukayo Saka added a third in the second half to put the game firmly to bed. The Three Lions are chasing their first major trophy since winning the 1966 World Cup. And Kylian Mbappe set up a history-making goal for Olivier Giroud and then scored 2 himself, as winning champions France this evening eased into the World Cup quarterfinals with a 3-1 winner over Poland. Giroud's opening goal a minute before half-time was his 52nd for his country, allowing him to pass Thierry Henry and become France's all-time record marksman. Mbappe's lethal strike in the 74th minute killed off any prospect of a Poland comeback. He netted again at the death to move to 9 goals in just 11 World Cup appearances. At the other end, the threat of Robert Lewandowski was snuffed out by the French defense, although the 34-year-old did get the consolation of scoring a stoppage time penalty. Back home, stakeholders are calling on the Nigeria Volleyball Federation to organize more inter-club competitions to complement the domestic leagues in the country. It comes following the rise of privately owned clubs in the last couple of years. They insist that more domestic tournaments will help in the grooming of budding talents in the sport.
Volleyball is a game played by 2 teams of 6 players and a side in which the players use their hands to hit the ball back and forth over a high net. In Nigeria, development of the volleyball dates back to over 50 years. Military and paramilitary clubs and the state-owned clubs remain the major feature in the sport. The presence of organized leagues in Nigeria seems not enough following the rise of privately owned clubs in the last 5 years. This increases demand for more competitions to keep the players in competitive stead.
From the beginning of last year to this year, we have players that have actually been going out to play competition outside. I'm actually a beneficiary of one because I just came back from the World Championship. I think with more support from the Nigeria Volleyball Federation and some other top bodies, I think volleyball can actually go a long way in this country.
The more they play competition, the more the players and players comes up, the more have a spring and pool of players that are developing. So I also use this medium to appeal to other stakeholders to join hands and have more competition in Nigeria so that we can have more players and can have volleyball growth in Nigeria.
Enthusiasts make a strong case for the involvement of schools in the development of volleyball in the country.
Those are the areas where some of our big players in all sports are being discovered. But what's happening, not only in volleyball these days, no. They want to play a championship and travel, no. If they are doing that, that means we will not discover hidden talent. Because school sports discovers talents from the grassroots.
The government are investing massively in volleyball. Not like that in Nigeria. If not for football, do you know how much they are investing in football? Let them take divided by 3. I mean 3/4 of whatever they are investing in football. Let them bring it to volleyball and see what volleyball will be in the next 5 years.
However, the Nigeria Volleyball Federation reaffirms its commitment to improving the game. Nevertheless, lovers of the game insist that adequate attention should be given to budding talent so Nigeria can gain ascendancy in the sport.
FIFA Chief of Global Football Development Director Arsene Wenger and FIFA Technical Group member Jurgen Klinsmann have sent messages of support to Pele, labeling him the greatest of all. Brazilian football legend Pele is receiving palliative care after chemotherapy stopped having the expected results as he battles colon cancer. 82-year-old, who is widely considered one of the greatest footballers of all time, was admitted to the Albert Einstein Hospital in Sao Paulo on Tuesday to reevaluate his cancer treatment and was later diagnosed with a respiratory infection.
Pele was my idol when I was a child, and we are all, of course, getting the news that he's not very well. We wish him as well to recover quickly, and hopefully, I spoke to his agent not long ago. He was not as pessimistic as the news we get at the moment, so I was a bit surprised and shocked that Pele is not well. He told me that he is to go back to hospital, but he's not in danger.
Obviously, Pele is in our prayers. We hope that he recovers as quickly as possible and is with us for many, many years to go. I met him many, many times in South America or wherever, the global football community comes together. He's just such a wonderful person.
Tyson Fury says he's expected to have the biggest year of his career yet in 2023 after beating Derek Chisora for the 3rd time to retain his WBC heavyweight title. The Gypsy King says an undisputed championship clash with Alexander Usyk is his target for the first quarter of 2023. The Ukrainian was at Saturday's fight at the Tottenham Stadium in London and also confirmed he wants the fight to happen. And the main news again. President Muhammadu Buhari today called for the activation of the West African Regional Action Plan on the fight against terrorism and other criminal acts as part of measures towards curbing insecurity in the sub-region. He spoke at the 62nd ordinary session of ECOWAS in Abuja. Also today, INEC office in Oru local government area came under attack, the second incident in 3 days in Imo State, as the commission raised concern over the incessant attacks, but vows elections will hold as planned. That's it on the News at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.